and welcome to the AAU TV Mid-Week News, and we are coming to you live from the headquarters of the Association of African Universities in Accra, Ghana, and my name is Lydia Nyame. Joining me in the studio are
Jimai Madaladam Duche.
And my name is Ajaman Otredako.
And now the headlines on higher education. Concern over higher education system in Central Africa. And again, universities urge Biden to end curbs on foreign students.
And in our health news, general practitioners in England to begin offering Pfizer jam and also test your heart by climbing stairs, study reveals.
In our science and technology news, virtual reality helps measure vulnerability to stress. I must say you must bring in your comments via social media platforms on Facebook and YouTube. And don't go anywhere, I'll bring you more news at the short pause. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to GTP Health and Safety Corner. Charging up goes a long way. Strengthen your immune system. Your immune system needs all the help it can get. Eat well, stay hydrated. Hands pick up a lot. Avoid touching your face. Your well-being is in your hands. Sanitize regularly. Stay safe. GTP, timeless.
Higher education systems in the Central African region have turned futile in shifting the balance from the humanities to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM, and fall short in terms of research output and innovation, according to the panelists who participated in a virtual meeting of the 36th Intergovernmental Committee of Senior Officials and Expert Eyes for Central Africa.
For Central Africa's economies to be competitive and develop sustainably, they absolutely need to be diversified.
The 2020 session of our Intergovernmental Committee of Senior Officials and Experts is dedicated to the theme Building Skills and Competencies for Economic Diversification in Central Africa. Skills and competencies are key for us to be able to go up in the value chain. Certainly, this is a vexed problem, in some cases bordering a wicked one. Let me explain. Central Africa's competitiveness profile and scoring in most of the indexes, including the World Economic Forum Global Competitiveness Index, is very low. Our total factor productivity is equally low. The sector composition of our exports is basically centered on raw materials. And this, of course, locks us into the lower end of the global value chains. We want to break this cycle.
Well, now let's start off with the issues faced by higher education in Central Africa. Of course, there are a lot of issues going on in various universities in Central Africa. So let's start off with that.
I'd say the first issue is the failure to attract and retain students. You know, the Central African universities are not able to retain students because, first of all, moving from the primary to the secondary education, the student reduces, and in turn it reduces the intake of university students when they get to the university level. And also, the countries, Central African countries, have also a very low gross enrollment ratio, according to a research from the World Bank. Example, when you take Chad, they have 3%, and Burundi also has 4%. But taking it to the aspect of women, you know, in our social setting, it is believed that the place of a woman is in the kitchen. So, you know, it doesn't equip them, it doesn't give them that zeal for them to continue to further their education as personally they would wish for. So that is some of the issues that happens around the Central African countries.
Yeah, I must say that there's this kind of deploring state. You know, there's something happening in the Central African region that needs some correction and some review with regards to what the African Development Bank said that the major problem with the Central African universities is that the output of their graduates is with little or no prospect for employment. And the question is, that is a very strong statement being made by the ADB with regards to the fact that if there is supposed to be a solution, then we need to find a problem to this inadequate industry relevant training. There needs to be that integration of STEM training, STEM education, science, technology, engineering and mathematics. What do we do? How do we integrate STEM into every aspect of what we learn on these campuses? Because these students are coming out with skills that the labor market is rejecting. Can you imagine that out of a lot of students, just many of them are in non-science disciplines and a few of them are in science disciplines?
That's true.
And the skill factor is what you are complaining about, that we need students with the skill factor so we can employ them. So we do exactly that.
Okay. You know, you did talk about ensuring that these university students are equipped with such abilities, especially with the STEM courses in STEM.
Yeah.
But whose duty is it to ensure that that happens?
You know, that priority is for government. Okay? Government must make that move. Government, actually, the Central African region, heads of states want to strengthen the economy and want an industrialized economy. Now, if you want a strong economy which is industrialized, then you need to be looking at how you can infuse or enhance the stake of science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Not everywhere. This is a problem all over Africa. We are always being a third party peripheral. We are always supplying. We don't add value to what we have because we are known not to have the skill, that know-how, that technical ability to add value to raw materials. So we are always shipping. And we get less. You always earn less when you send raw material because the person who adds value will tell you that because I add value, I need the biggest chunk. So how then do we have the skilled people to add value to our own raw materials in this continent and make value out of it? This is something that we have to do for ourselves.
That's very true.
Adding to what Ajimai said, you know, the universities in Central Africa are very low ranked. And if you actually want to get there, you would need research and you would also need quality training.
That's true.
But that is what we are lacking in our African universities. We are not encouraging the students to bring out their quality. You know, the curricular activities does not admit those quality opportunities. So it makes it very difficult for a student to, you know, build in that environment. And then it also hinders them, as Ajimai said, in taking STEM programs. And it's
you know, we are talking about skills here, and all the skills are found in STEM. But here's a case in Central Africa. A study shows that 70% of students in Central Africa are enrolled in non-science courses. So those are the arts courses, the humanities courses, and then only 25% are in STEM.
You know, the tragedy of that, I mean, it's very sad that we have many students, 70% of them, a huge chunk, in non-science courses and 25% in science programs.
Yet we are looking at industrialization.
That is very sad because you want to industrialize. And beyond that, you know, R&D, research and development, we have poor outputs. Can you imagine in the whole Central African Republic region as having less kinds of published paper articles? Only Cameroon is the country, I think, left with Rwanda and Kenya, are known to be the ones doing much publications. What are we doing in regards to research and innovation? Because research is the heartbeat of life. The famous writer say that research brings just new way of doing things. So if you don't research, so we can get innovative ways of doing things, we're just going to be in the old ways. We can't be efficient, we can't be effective if there's no research.
That's true.
Because there can't be any innovation to help us do things faster and easier. It comes back to how then do we invest to research? The whole African continent, our GDP to research is 0.1%.
Which is very sad.
Globally, we are the lowest. How can you grow a continent or an economy with such GDP to research or revenue, such research investments? We have to do better than this.
Sure.
And beyond that, all our research studies must be economy tailored. We conduct researches, but they are not commercial to us. They cannot make any difference to our economy. Students are not encouraged to do researches that are going to transform the economy. But rather just do this and fill the shelves. we have to go beyond this, believe me. And for this reason, we have to work on our STEM TVET training so that students don't become just holders of degree certificates, but have skills to prove what they've learned.
You know, now away from the research, agriculture sector graduates in Central Africa accounts for less than 1% of the total population and percentage, despite agriculture being a priority in the sub-region.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's like that?
You want to understand? Well, you know, the point is, we're looking at how do we move on with agric, modernize agric, mechanize agric. You know, when students go to school in these times that we're in, where technology is taking over with that turbulence, you need to see how agric is done, not in a traditional way, but in a mechanized way, where we see tractors, where we see equipment, tools that are able to make work go faster. We don't work hard these days, we work smart these days, because online education is coming in. It tells you that things are moving smarter and electronic. So if students or graduates go to the field and realize that we're still going to use the cutlass and hoe and those antique ways of doing agric, you don't expect other students to join them over there.
That's true.
Who would go to that environment?
Exactly.
Because it is not encouraging to be in an environment that has old systems of farming. Whilst we have seen advanced things online, 1% is even a compliment. We should even get less than that because the systems in agriculture are not changing.
That's true.
So you don't expect to attract students. If you want to attract students who will go to university with their experience and their skills, then we need to also up the game in the agri sector.
That's true.
And make it modernized and mechanized.
That's true. And it's quite interesting to know that the only people who can modernize the agri sector is students, or let me say people in STEM. So a critical look should be really taken.
Yeah, not only them. You know, governments, you set the pace. When you set the pace and you invest into agric with that modernized and mechanized environment, they will be there.
That's true.
They will be there.
That's very true. Now, still on higher education, Ted Mitchell, president of the American Council on Education, ACE, has written to the United States President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris on behalf of 43 U.S. university associations, calling on them to move to ensure that American colleges and universities are once again the destination of choice for the world's best international students and scholars. Ted Mitchell, president of the American Council on Education, has written to Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris on behalf of 43 U.S. university associations, calling on them to move to ensure that American colleges and universities are once again the destination of choice for the world's best international students and scholars. To accomplish this aim, Mitchell says the Biden administration should move to withdraw the proposed regulations that would limit an international student's duration of status and create a fixed duration of admission. Mitchell says there is no evidence to suggest that such a restriction is required or that the issues raised cannot be addressed through the existing student and exchange visitor program. According to Mitchell, the amount of time the Trump administration proposes to give students is less than the average amount of time it takes an international student to complete his or her education. Such a policy, he described, was not fair to international students or institutions. In addition, Mitchell added that the optional practical training OPT program that operated actively during the Obama administration should be held stable and supported, as the Trump administration's constant signaling that it might change OPT created a serious disincentive for students to enroll in post-secondary education. Well, great news right there, especially for foreign students. But how exactly does Ted Mitchell request improves the academic mobility of students?
I think this is an incredible request, and I am saying that it's a great observation made by Ted Mitchell in terms of how students were faring during Trump's administration with regards to the laws that were made for immigration in terms of the number of time a student can stay to do a study, whilst we have according to the law, the rule right there, your stay your study time in the USA actually is lesser than even your academic time.
Exactly.
So you happen to leave. That is unfair.
How do you cope?
That's sad, because I mean that is not, so it's creating an America that is not really open for education, which America has been known for one place where students are really open to learn because they have what it takes to learn and learn more. So in promoting academic mobility, this law was really an impedance. It was really impeding on freedom of state to study and study very well, do well over there. So I think it's a good observation by Ted Mitchell, and if it's rectified, it really helps students in terms of their international stay.
That's true.
To add to what Ajima is saying, you know, when you are done studying, you should get an opportunity to work, to gain experience. And when your year the year you are given to stay there is actually less than what you went there to do, I don't think you even get the experience you want before you even come back to your country to help to develop your own country. So I think Mitchell's request is very good, and I think it should bring a positive outcome.
Okay. You know, the Obama administration had this thing called the optical practical training, where after foreign students are done with their studies, they were allowed to still stay in the country for some time to, have jobs for themselves. But it's unfortunate the Trump administration is not even giving students enough time for their studies, not to even talk about optional practical training. So I think what the universities are urging the Biden administration to do is really great.
And notwithstanding that, in one way or the other, we can say that COVID-19 is one of the reasons why we wouldn't have students go travel to study as usual they used to do, because we're still in it. We're still fighting COVID-19. We're not done. So we can't be having students flow in and out like that. There will be some restrictions. This restriction, in one way or the other, is being kept by online learning. Online learning now creates a borderless system where people can learn beyond borders.
Exactly.
You can be in Ghana, anywhere in the world, and still be part of Harvard or University of California and still study. You don't have to be there. So whether there was any law of such that deprives students from staying in the U.S. For enough time to finish their study or not, there is still a means of still helping you to finish your study without really being there to even be caught up in this law.
That's true.
Also, I want to add the fact that, for the USA, revenue mobilization from universities in terms of foreign students, it's not really a priority. I mean, they have what to do to start making money from you. But in the African investors here, we rely so much on foreign students to just build revenue. So in that instance, if you build a revenue, in this case with COVID-19, we would be able to get more revenue. It will fall this year or these times on, rather than those times where we used to admit so many foreign students and make money from them. This time, online studies will be the barrier. You can't make so much money from foreign students. They will be online and still study because there's online learning now.
That's very true.
And in our health news, COVID vaccination will start being given to patients from GP surgeons in England as part of the next stage of the rollout of the program.
Surgery ready for the next phase of the NHS vaccination campaign. In the heart of London, Bloomsbury Surgery will aim to vaccinate between 800 to 1,000 over 80s in the next 3.5 days. That will mean injecting up to 40 patients every hour. Like others receiving the doses, the practice will be open between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. 7 days a week. Those eligible for a jab will be contacted by the surgery.
Do sit tight. We will be phoning you, so it is by appointment, and we will get to everybody. So don't start ringing your practices, because we will be ringing you to ensure that if you're eligible that you are invited for your vaccine.
The rollout to GP surgeries comes less than a week after Margaret Keenan made history, when the UK became the first country in the world to begin vaccinations in hospitals. The jabs are now being administered in the community. An immunisation campaign of this magnitude has never been undertaken by the NHS.
has been a real roller coaster. Many of my colleagues have been working, all hours through the COVID pandemic, and now to finally be in a position to offer a vaccination to our community is incredibly powerful. And as a GP, I'm really quite blown away.
But what do you think the vaccine is actually given to the vulnerable and those in the hospitals, but not actually the affected people?
I would like to first of all talk about what vulnerable means in this sense.
State, yeah.
Exactly. So here, vulnerable is basically talking about people at very high risk of contracting COVID-19.
Okay.
We are also talking about people with health conditions. We are talking about people who are 70 and above. Such people, should they get the virus, they are going to react differently to it as compared to someone who is not really prone to the virus. So we are looking at people who are 70 years and above, and there are people who are 18 and above,
yeah,
but may have medical conditions. So such people are also added to the list of vulnerable. Exactly.
Absolutely. I think that the very best way to administer the vaccines was to first target the people who were at higher risk initially, the health professionals who were really fighting COVID-19 at the forefront, and the very aged people who, due to some immune deficiencies, they would need the vaccine because their immune systems are quite lower and can't fight COVID. And also with the records, it's people who were that old people, aged people, they were the ones who were a bit gullible when it came to the virus, and so perhaps it's the right thing to do when it comes to administering them first, before we even know
but
what
how
next.
do you think this will affect the youth? Because let's say a youth has also some health bad conditions and has been affected. So what effect will it pose to such a youth?
I would like to come in. That is why I did mention that they are not just focusing on people who are 70 and above. They're also focusing on the youth. But here's the case, the youth, it comes with a condition. Do you have any health complications? If you do have it, then you are part of those who are termed vulnerable, because they need to focus on those people. So the youth are also factored in, except that it is only the youth with health complications who are. And I would also want to mention that, because of the fact that the vaccine they are now producing it, we don't have enough doses. That is why they are prioritizing some people over others. Yes.
Yeah, and still, still in the phases of trials. I don't know, but we still will need to see how it works fully, how it works in them. So let's give it some time. Let's see how successful the Pfizer jab will work in the UK and other parts of the world.
But I must say it's a relief.
Yeah, sure. We're doing better. The world is doing better.
Moving on. Climbing 4 flights of stairs in less than a minute indicates good heart health, according to a research presented at EACIV. Best of Imaging 2020, a scientific congress of the European Society of Cardiology.
Good morning, everyone. Jeffrey Beck here with Intermountain Medical Center Heart Institute. Today I have a basic stair workout routine to help improve your cardiovascular system and also increase your coordination. Now, I'm social distancing out here in the park, but you can easily do this routine from home. First, we're going to start with the step ups. All you're going to do is bring your right foot up, follow it with the left, and then back down, just like this. You're going to do this continuously for 1 minute. As you get more used to the movement, you'll want to try and speed it up. This is going to really rev up the heart rate as well as test your coordination level. Next, we're going to move into the toe taps. This one, we're going to start with the right foot on the step. Then we're going to switch to the left, a jump switch there. Nice and easy. Again, we're going to do what we did with the step up and speed it up as we get a little more familiar with the movement. Again, it's going to rev up that heart rate as well as test that coordination level. Do this continuously for 1 minute. Then we're going to finish with the cross step climb. Take the farthest leg away from the step, cross it over your closest leg to the step, and then bring it up like so. Now we're going to bring that same leg back behind that leg and then press yourself up. You'll do this one nice and slow. Then you'll walk down and repeat with the other leg. You'll do that 3 times. And that's a great routine you can do from the comfort of your own home, or if you have some stairs in the park, it's great to do it there too. Thank you all for watching. Back to you in the
let me ask, so when was the first time you actually climbed the stairs? You can share with us your experience. And
no, I've been testing my heartbeat for so many times now. When I'm on my way to work, I always try to use a staircase.
Okay.
No, that's very great. And when you use a staircase all the time, it tells how your heart can beat. And, you know, it's the best way to exercise your heart. You know,
Exactly.
cardiologists always recommend that you always use the stairs. So I can find the lift, but I still want to use the stairs because I believe that as I move my feet up and down, my heart will beat, and I know how fast my heart will beat, and in that way, I'm just boosting blood flow and keeping the body active. And I recommend that you ladies do so. You know, just try and use the stairs sometimes.
Exactly. I do use the stairs a lot, but I would want to talk about the heart health.
Yeah.
You know, focusing on your heart is something that we should prioritize, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't do that because it comes with extra cost. So this whole climbing stairs thing to check your heart health is very good, and I think it's a simple and an inexpensive method of assessing the health of your heart. So I think it's a really, really good one.
Yeah, sure.
And like it says, if it takes you more than 1.5 minutes to climb a 4-flight stairs, then you need to see a doctor. So at least you could try that. I mean, from now on, I'm going to try it.
No, last time I met a young lady on the staircase, and then she just walked up to me, and then at the last point, she was like, she was just panting. I was like, why are you panting? With just this short move.
Was it that short?
No, it was a move on. I mean, we all move on. We don't pant. Nobody pants. But I mean, she was panting. It means that, I mean, it takes her so much energy to just climb the stairs. With all this energy, you are panting. What would you do if it was like 4 times the staircase?
Yeah.
These things are very important.
Exactly.
Because your blood flow tells you how strong you are.
Exactly.
If your blood can't flow, perhaps, then you have so much fat blocking the vein tubes, then you have to be checking yourself, keeping your body in motion, because your heart's very important. Keep it in motion.
You know, if your work schedule won't permit you to go to the hospital to check it, now we have brought the hospital to your homes, to your workplace. So do climb the stairs.
Yeah, when you get to work, do well to use the stairs at least once or twice.
But how do you think not going to the how do you think, you know, doing your personal checkup using the staircase is going to affect our hospitals? Because our hospitals also do testing. How will it even affect their income?
No, you see, how does your heart beat normally? How does it beat if you put yourself in some rigorous activity? Does it beat too fast? No, there's an abnormal way your heart can beat. That is a red signal. That's check yourself. But there should be a normal way of beating. If you climb just a 4-flight staircase and your heart beats like it just landed from a helicopter, or let's say you went to some terrifying activity, then you have to check your blood flow and your pressure, because a short activity that can make your heart beat that much. That's a problem.
That's true. You know, for me, I think it would help the hospitals a lot, because, I mean, how many people go to the hospital just like that to check their heart? Very, very few people. Usually, those who are diagnosed of heart problems go to hospitals with different diseases, and then they end up finding out that I have a heart problem. So I think if people are going to inculcate this habit into their daily lives by climbing the stairs, a 4-flight stairs, to check your heartbeat, you would help the hospital, because if you check and then you realize that, whoa, I'm having some abnormal reaction to climbing the stairs, you would rather go to the hospital, making their jobs easier and then saving your life as well.
That's true.
You make the job for them easier and save your life. Don't go anywhere as we bring you science and technology news after this short pause.
Welcome to GTP Health and Safety Corner. Charging up goes a long way. Strengthen your immune system. Your immune system needs all the help it can get. Eat well, stay hydrated. Hands pick up a lot. Avoid touching your face. Your well-being is in your hands. Sanitize regularly. Stay safe. GTP, timeless.
You're welcome back to the AAU TV Mid-Week News, and I'm bringing you an amazing story on science and technology. Guess what? Do you know what I have for you this week?
Tell us, what do you have for us?
All right. So, you know, behavioral scientists have developed a virtual reality test that assesses a person's vulnerability to stress while exploring immersive environments. The resulting model offers a field of stress research, one of the first such tools that does not rely on subjective evaluations.
when the trauma is no longer there. That's what makes it pathologic. So having stress and fear in response to something that's happening that's truly threat-inducing, that's good. We certainly are not interested in curing fear. We're interested in alleviating pathologic fear. We have subjects come in. We wire them up to a number of different things in order to measure their body and brain responses. And then we provide these different states, fear states in particular, by placing them into virtual environments. We measure people's stress response. We're analyzing the status of the brain and the body through measures like heart rate and sweating, pupillometry, the size of the pupils, which is a readout of autonomic arousal or the level of arousal or anxiety inside the brain and body.
In a Society for Neuroscience conference, I saw a demo by one of the VR vendors that triggered a fear of heights actually, and I tried it on and it was very, very effective. And so then that's where I decided, okay, this is the way to put humans in a box, and if we can just put some sensors on them too, we can measure their reactions.
The first time I put on the virtual reality goggles, which allow you to look up and down and behind you and actually see different things. The environment that I was experiencing was actually a virtual platform many, many meters off the ground, in which I was required to step off. But what I found was that my body was actually resisting stepping off the platform, and that when I did, I got the...
Whoa, so that's right there with our SNT news in regards to how virtual reality is being deployed in terms to measure one's vulnerability to stress. But you know, beyond that, these are ways and means to manage stress in people, because for a long day's work, you need to find a way to de-stress or measure stress, and they're using the virtual reality to measure stress. But how do you think we can actually create more room to manage stress in people?
You know, let me say, the exercise can help a lot, because when you are stressed like that, you know, you have to, let me say, not run, but, you know, jog, you know, walk. Even if it's walking, it will help release you, just feel free in your system. So I think exercising is one best way you can actually help to release your stress.
You know, to come in, I think beyond the stress, the virtual reality, as we saw in the video, helps a lot. It does help, because recently studies shows that in the United States, therapists have started adapting the use of virtual reality to help their patients with stress. Because, I mean, the whole idea of the whole idea of a virtual reality is to give you a sense of presence. You are stressed about something. Sometimes stress causes anxiety. Exactly. So if you find yourself in a state like this, you know, usually when you go to therapies, you are being told to be in an imaginative state where you're acting. Imagine you are here, you are there. So this virtual reality is giving you that imagination. You are seeing it in person. Should I say in person?
Yeah, I mean, you feel that it's real. You find yourself in the ocean with sharks. How would you feel like? I mean, let's see how how you can de-stress yourself and feel and be in other environments, other situations. How will you react when you have sharks around you? How will you react if you're on the skyscraper and you can see the ground? How will you now feel the anxiety? And let's measure. So I think they use this means to measure how anxious, how stressful you could be. But beyond that, we are not trying to cast more fear here. I think in this way we are trying to bring out in you the kind of situation you can face in life and how you can work things around.
Yeah, that's true. So I think the virtual reality goes a long way.
Yeah, fantastic. I think everybody should have one, perhaps, and then feel yourself in an environment in all these situations and see how you can de-stress yourself. Let's de-stress yourself and feel good about yourself in terms of, I mean, seeing. I want one that'll be in the sky and I'll draw from an airplane. I'm skydiving. Skydiving with my virtual reality.
That's very
good. Yeah, that's a good environment. Let's de-stress myself, and then after that I'll just give a good sigh. That's what I'm talking about. I'll refresh myself for a new week.
That's very great. And now that's all for the news. And in wrapping up, let's take a quick recap of our headlines. In higher education, concern over higher education system in Central Africa. And again, universities urge Biden to end curbs on foreign students.
And in our health news, general practitioners in England to begin offering Pfizer jam, and also test your heart by climbing stairs, study reveals.
In our science and technology news, virtual reality helps measure vulnerability to stress. I must say, I'm so glad you spent time with us on the AAU TV Mid-Week news, and I'm glad you sent in your comments and contributions. We'll bring you more news next week, same time.
My name is Lydia Nyame.
And I am Jumai Madaladem Duchi.
My name is Hajimala Chodako, and see you next week. Bye.